Join me on this journey as we research mythological creatures from around the world. On this episode, we will uncover the mystery of the Navajo monstrosities known as Skinwalkers. Disclaimer: for Native Americans, specifically the Navajo, Skinwalkers are a very real and terrifying entity. Even speaking of them to outsiders, or even to each other, is taboo and strictly forbidden. Mentioning Skinwalkers, like I am now, is said to garner their attention and their wrath. A chilling quote that summarizes this comes from Dr. Adrian Keene, a Native American academic, writer, and activist. These are not things that need or should be discussed by outsiders at all. I'm sorry if that seems unfair, but that's how our cultures survive. Origin: there is no specific time period where Skinwalker lore emerged, so it can be assumed that these beings have existed since the dawn of time. Although the Skinwalker is specific to the Navajo, it must be noted that many other groups of Native Americans have similar creatures. The Hopi, Pueblo, and other tribes have their own version of a Skinwalker. Skinwalkers are said to be evil witches that possess the use of dark magic. Before being corrupted by their power, they were shamans and medicine men. There is another theory as to their true origin. The Yi-Natalushi, which means, with it, he goes on all fours, are said to be divine beings that helped humans live in a better and holier way. When their duty was fulfilled, they were to leave the human realm forever. Some stayed behind. This defiance and lust for power corrupted these beings. These were the ancestors of the Skinwalkers that we know today. To become a Skinwalker, you must practice witchcraft or have been a medicine man. Witchcraft in Navajo culture isn't a bad thing. It's a way of life. It can be used positively or negatively. Some say that there is an initiation process that one must undergo to become a Skinwalker. This is commonly done through a ceremony. However, there is a more sinister way to become a Skinwalker. In fact, this way grants even more power, but at a higher cost. Killing of a loved one, committing horrific acts like necrophilia, or other heinous deeds will grant a sickening amount of power. Characteristics: although most accounts speak of Skinwalkers being male, there are cases of female Skinwalkers. This uneven amount comes from most shamans, witches, and corrupted medicine men being males. It is also said that only childless women can join their ranks. In their human form, Skinwalkers tend to be hairy and have glowing, animal-like eyes. It's possible that they can hide the glow from their eyes with practice, similar to that of a Sith from Star Wars. These creatures are most commonly found in the Four Corners area of the southwestern United States. This is southwest Colorado, southeast Utah, northeast Arizona, and northwest New Mexico. There have been sightings extremely far from this location, but these are not Skinwalkers. These are similar creatures from other Native American tribes. Many people simply call them cryptid sightings. Skinwalkers used to wear the pelt or hide of a predatory animal. This practice isn't as common nowadays because it would immediately give them away as a Skinwalker. Most Native Americans in modern times do not dress exactly how they did centuries ago. It should be noted that the wearing of predatory pelts is taboo for the Navajo, although other pelts, like that of a deer, is completely fine and acceptable. When in their animal form, they are easily identifiable. They look awkward, out of place, have human-looking eyes, and move almost mechanically. Skinwalkers are often portrayed taking the form of coyotes, wolves, bears, dogs, and other common creatures. However, they can turn into literally any creature they so choose. This means that they can turn into an eagle to make a quick escape or to cover a lot of ground. This is part of why it is said that skinwalkers are nearly impossible to kill. The constant transition from human form to a multitude of animals makes the task very arduous. In some cases, they wear animal skulls or antlers on their heads for more power. This is not to be confused with the Wendigo, which is a completely different creature. The powers of a skinwalker are vast and are variable. The amount of powers and strength of them are dependent on two main factors. The first being the age of the skinwalker. Older skinwalkers have had more time to practice their craft, and thus become stronger. Most skinwalker groups are led by the eldest male, who can be hundreds, if not close to 1,000 years old in rare cases. Another factor is how they became a skinwalker. If they performed heinous deeds, they were likely granted powers that common skinwalkers cannot easily achieve. Their powers are truly terrifying, and conceptualizing them isn't for the faint of heart. Arguably the scariest power they possess is that of mimicry. Skinwalkers can easily mimic the voices of people they've met, or even your loved ones. When your loved one calls for you in the middle of the night, double check to see where they are, if they're even in there with you. And finally, pay attention to the tone. Is the voice normal, or does it sound off? They can shapeshift into anything they want, to include other humans. By making eye contact with a skinwalker, they can possess you and drive you mad. Mind reading, causing illness, disease, and in some cases, they can use their powers to kill you indirectly. Skinwalkers can control other creatures like deer, wolves, and owls to do their bidding, or to gather information for them. Extremely powerful skinwalkers are said to be able to control the dead by using necromancy. Their physical abilities are tremendous. Uncanny speed, jumping ability, endurance, and strength are just a few of their physical gifts. Similar to werewolves, they are sometimes seen in human form with tattered clothing. This is likely caused by transforming and then reverting back to their human state. How to kill them? It is nearly impossible to kill a skinwalker. The method to do so is actually quite simple. Getting the chance to do so is a completely different story. They can only be killed with something covered in white ash. This can be an arrowhead, bullet, sword, or spear. This is the only thing that will physically kill them. The killing blow must strike them in the neck or the head. Skinwalkers rarely die in this manner. It is easier to get another powerful shaman to cast spells that will use the skinwalker's evil against itself. Although these methods will kill them, skinwalkers rarely die. It is much easier to avoid them. They can manipulate the human mind, and when being tracked, can often lead the hunting party in circles. Sometimes, the hunting party is led to the wrong person's home on purpose. Skinwalkers are very similar to werewolves in that injuries sustained in their beast form carry over to their human form. Finding an unexplainably injured member of your tribe can be a massive red flag and indicator of them being a skinwalker. How to avoid and survive skinwalkers. Avoiding skinwalkers seems easy enough. Just avoid going into nature in certain parts of the United States. It's not that simple. A skinwalker could be in human form at a gas station, and you could be rude to them, thus sealing your fate. Many skinwalkers are said to take the form of deer and other wildlife solely to cause car accidents. In this sense, it's impossible to completely avoid them, so just be careful and be kind to people, especially those that seem off. Arguably the most terrifying scenario is you being stalked by a skinwalker. You might be camping in a cabin and you suddenly hear a baby crying in the woods, people calling for help, or more terrifyingly, a familiar voice that shouldn't be there. They have the ability to mimic voices, both young and old, to trick you into approaching them. Skinwalkers and Pop Culture. Skinwalkers aren't commonly showcased in pop culture, like vampires and werewolves. This is likely due to you needing a deeper understanding to be truly terrified. Here are a few examples of times skinwalkers made the cut. The 2018 documentary, Hunt for the Skinwalker, directed by Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer-Corbell, is one of the more recent pieces of media that highlights skinwalkers. Episode 19 of The X-Files features a skinwalker. In Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the character named Nightwolf acted as a skinwalker. In Stephen King's The Dark Tower, The Wind Through the Keyhole has a character called the Skin Man. This character is a shapeshifter, which is the primary ability that is associated with skinwalkers. The Skinwalker Ranch gets a brief note from me because there are so many other things in the area, things start to get muddied. Skinwalkers, UFOs, and other paranormal and unnatural phenomena occur here. Skinwalkers are said to consume some of the local livestock, but again, extraterrestrials and other cryptids sometimes get credit for this. Are they real? Unlike previous episodes, like vampires and the Kraken, I personally cannot say that these creatures do not exist. Like anything in this world, it's up for interpretation, and we all have an opinion. The chilling thing about these creatures is that they're human. Human evil and depravity know no bounds. It's not far-fetched to believe that through pure evil, which exists, and otherworldly magic or spirituality, that one can evolve into a monster. I have personally never encountered a skinwalker, but I've seen things that cannot be explained with logic, reasoning, or known science. I believe we should err on the side of caution and side with the Navajo. The next time you hear a loved one's voice calling you from somewhere deep in your house or from outside, will you immediately go to them, or will you hesitate? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. Leave a comment for what creature I should cover on the next episode of Mythological Creatures Explained.